Hello everybody and welcome to a Halloween special battle report. Grimdark Future soldiers versus Age of Fantasy Undead. It was supposed to be a routine patrol when a group of Human Defense Force soldiers and Battle Sisters joined forces. But all of a sudden they found themselves surrounded by a thick fog, almost as dense as smoke. Their vision was limited to all sides, and with the fog came eerie noises. When the fog finally lifted slightly, outlines of buildings were revealed. It was almost as though the patrol had stepped into another dimension. Ruins of buildings and a gate into an old town. The soldiers stepped forward. They all had the feeling that they were not alone. Something was lurking in the streets and houses. Something evil. So in this battle report, 300 points of Human Defense Force and Battle Sisters will face an unknown enemy, and their mission is simple. They will have to cleanse this town of all evil. Hidden inside the buildings in 6 different places we have 6 skull markers. And each skull marker will hide an unknown enemy that will first be revealed when they enter line of sight. And here is a top view of the map, the old city. The soldiers will enter from the left side. And then we have the skull markers, as seen here too, on the upper right side of the map. One hidden behind this house on the far right, and one down here on the lower right, one here in the middle, and the final skull marker closest to the soldiers. Behind the skull markers we have 6 different enemies numbered from 1 to 6, and when the soldiers have line of sight or they enter line of sight themselves, they will be randomly revealed. And the 6 different enemies are a Wraith, ethereal undead and armed with a great weapon. A glaive stalker, ethereal fast impact, armed with a glaive. An ancient banshee, chilling, ethereal and a tough value of 3, armed with claw and howl. A mourner banshee, chilling, ethereal, armed with hand weapon and shriek. A werewolf strider, a tough value of 3 and armed with vicious bite, and a vampire lord with a tough value of 3 and great weapon. And when a skull marker is revealed, a card will be drawn randomly. For example, here it says activate unit number 3, and then we will take a look at the undead, and in this case it would have been the ancient banshee. And the patrol is a High Sister with Devout, a tough value of 3, and Celestial Infantry armed with Plasma Rifle and Energy Sword. A company leader also with a tough value of 3, and he is a Drill Sergeant that gives friendly units within 12 inches Furious. He's armed with Energy Sword and Plasma Pistol. Then we have a regular Battle Sister armed with Heavy Rifle, and she's also Celestial Infantry. We have an Infantry Squad armed with 2 rifles and 1 Shred Rifle. A support sister with Devout and Relentless armed with Heavy Flamethrower, and finally a sniper with Stealth and Sniper Rifle. Let's see who will activate first. Black die for the soldiers and red die for the undead. And the undead, the unknown undead, will activate first. The skull on the lower right side of the battlefield will activate first. Sneak around the building here and then move out into the open, but still hide behind this rock. So far it's still not in line of sight. And the High Sister will activate first in the patrol. She will rush on the roof of this building using the ladder, and from this position she will be able to see the skull and thereby revealing it. So let's see who is hiding behind this skull marker. Let's draw a card. and it is unit number 1, and that was the Wraith. So the High Sister has revealed a Wraith hiding behind this rock. She will not be able to do anything else. A new skull activates, also sneaking in the shadows and hiding behind this statue so the High Sister cannot see who that is. The soldiers then activate the regular Battle Sister, and she stumbles into the Pumpkinhead here. She takes cover, and she will be able to fire a shot against the Wraith. She's armed with heavy rifle. It's a bit tricky to figure out what she actually has to roll, because she would normally have a hit roll of 4. But because of Celestial Infantry, she would need a 3. But then the Wraith is in cover, which is 4, and also have the stealth ability, so that is a 5. And in the end, she fails. A new skull activates. It cannot move into the open, otherwise it will be revealed. So instead it sneaks along the backside of the town here to hide in this old ruined house. Next up, the Infantry Squad. They jump over the fence and they take position and cover behind this statue. So all 3 infantrymen will from this position be able to look into the ruin and see the skull marker. So who is it? Again, let's draw a card to see who is in the house. And it will be unit number 5, the Werewolf. And also within charge range. So that could be a very dangerous enemy. The infantrymen immediately fire their rifles, 2 regular rifles and 1 shred rifle, and they will need a 5 to hit the Werewolf. Both regular rifle shots miss, but 2 of the shred rifle shots will hit, and 1 of them will be Rending. The Werewolf has a defense of 4, so let's begin with the regular shot. A 4 is needed, and the Werewolf fails here. Then the Rending shot, and that will be a 6 to defend, but also that one fails. So 2 shots hit the Werewolf and wounds it. It has a tough value of 3, so it's still standing. The skull in the lower middle section of the town activates and turns around, and thereby revealing itself. The High Sister will be able to have line of sight. So what is it? Still 4 different enemies to choose from, and this one will be unit number 3, the Ancient Banshee. And the Banshee will continue its movement, floating down from the roof of the building, and she will be able to move to the corner of the building. And from here she will attack the High Sister on the roof. And the Ancient Banshee has a howl, actually 4 howls, and she will need force to hit. But that looks like a great attack. 3 hits against the High Sister, and it's AP 1. So the High Sister on the roof will need a 5 to defend the awful howling of the Banshee, and she fails all 3 of her defense dice. So she will take 3 wounds, and that will take her down immediately and possibly take her out for good. A roll on the wound chart is a 1, so she is only stunned, but what a heavy blow. The support sister moves to the side and the corner of this ruined building under the bridgeway here, and she has line of sight to the Ancient Banshee. She's armed with a flamethrower, and she will attack. She has +1 for Devout, -1 for stealth of the Ancient Banshee, so she will hit on force, and she has 6 shots. and she will hit on 4 of them. And she also has the Relentless special rule, so a roll of 6 will give her an additional die. And that one did not hit anything, but still 4 hits from the support sister. It's AP 1, but the Banshee will need a 6 to defend anyway, and she will defend 1 of the flaming attacks. And that gives her 3 wounds, possibly enough to take her out, but she has regeneration. On a roll of 5 or 6, she will regenerate. And she fails 2, and the final one is good. So instead of 3 that would have taken her down, she will take 2 wounds and still be in the game. Another unknown enemy will activate. The skull here on the first floor of this building. Down the ladder and in cover behind the tree here. So far it's not in line of sight. The sniper activates and he has a golden opportunity to hit and remove the final wound from the werewolf. He will hit on a roll of 2 because of his snipe ability. And, well, that was a hit. It's AP 1, so the werewolf will need a 5 to defend. And he is successful. He is not hit by the sniper and still alive. Next up, the skull in the far right of the town moves out into the open but takes cover behind the wall of this building. And now the company leader will activate as the last soldier, and he takes a chance. An enemy is hiding behind this statue. He does not know what it is, but he decides to charge it anyway. So around the corner and facing the unknown evil. What is it? And the skull is revealed as unit number 2, and that means the Glaive Stalker. The company leader almost impaled himself attacking like this, but he is good and also furious, so he will have 3 attacks with his energy sword and he will hit on a roll of 4. And that is 1 hit against the Glaive Stalker. Not a rending hit, still AP 1. The Glaive Stalker will need a 6 to defend and fails. But also he has the regeneration, and that one is good. So, wounded and then regenerated. Now he can fight back, and it will take him a roll of 5 to hit the company leader. He fails that one, so the battle is over. The company leader will back off 1 inch. And that was the end of round number 1. 2 skull markers remain unidentified. And the High Sister took a heavy blow from the ancient Banshee, who herself was flamed by the support sister. Let's go to round number 2. The Undead will activate first in round number 2, and the ancient Banshee here is out for revenge. She will charge against the support sister who flamed her last round, and she will have 3 claw attacks hitting on 3s. So 2 hits against the support sister. They are AP nothing, so the support sister will have her regular defense roll of 4. Let's see if she can withstand the claws. She can 1 of them, but the other one hits her, and that takes her down. She only has 1 wound. And she will now have to roll on the wound chart. Again, it's a low roll on the wound chart, so the support sister is down, stunned. The Banshee will back off. The company leader is in a battle with the Glaive Stalker, but he rushes to the rescue of the support sister, ignoring the stalker, attacking the Banshee instead. He is furious, and that gives him 3 attacks against the Banshee. She turns around, ready to face the challenge. And a very effective attack against the Banshee. She still has a defense roll of 6. One of the hits are Rending, so she will not be able to regenerate that one. But let's see if she can defend any of them. She needs 6s. And none of the attacks are blocked. She will have to rely on her regeneration ability, but only the 2 regular attacks, and she does not regenerate any of them. That takes her to 5 wounds total. And that will be a difficult roll on the wound chart, because she goes down, she only has 3 wounds, and with a roll of 6, she is immediately expelled to the lower pits of hell, or wherever she comes from. And on the other side of town, the wounded werewolf is ready to charge into the infantry squad. So the werewolf will have 4 vicious bite attacks against the poor infantrymen. And the werewolf bites and snaps, and all in all, it will hit 3 times. It's AP nothing, but the infantry squad will have to roll 5s to block the vicious jaws of the werewolf. And they do block 2 attacks, but 1 still goes through, and 1 infantryman is immediately removed. The 2 remaining can now fight back. They don't really have any effective close combat weapons, but they will have 2 attacks hitting on F5, and none of them have any effect. The werewolf will back off 1 inch. The High Sister on the roof was stunned, but now she activates and she stands up, and then she will have line of sight to that skull marker, and we will see who will hide behind the tree. And it will be unit number 4, the Mourner Banshee. And that leaves only 1 remaining skull marker, still not identified, but we know who it will be because there is only 1 option left. The Vampire Lord is hiding inside this ruin. The Mourner Banshee will now activate and fly on top of the broken fountain on the city square. And from here she is within 12 inches of the Battle Sister behind the Pumpkinhead, and she will attack with her Shriek. It's a roll of 4, and she is successful. The Mourner Banshee will hit. It's an AP1 attack, so the Battle Sister will have to come up with a good defense roll, and that's exactly what she does. She rolls a 6 and blocks the attack. The sister would have normally needed a 5. And then she shoots back at the Mourner Banshee. She is within 12 inches, so she has the Devout bonus and also the Celestial Infantry. And she will hit on a 5, even though the Mourner Banshee is ethereal and has the stealth ability. So 1 hit with her heavy rifle. AP1, the Mourner Banshee will need a 6 to defend, but as usual, a regeneration possibility. That also fails, so the shot will hit and wound the Banshee. 1 wound, and that's all she has, so she will go down and roll on the wound chart, and a 3 means that she is stunned. The Glaive Stalker activates next, charges around the corner and into the company leader, and with the impact ability it will already have 1 hit, and then it will have to roll a 5, and that one fails, so 1 hit it is. It's AP1, so the company leader will have to defend on a 6. And he doesn't. So he is hit and takes 1 wound. He will now be able to fight back. He has 2 attacks with his energy sword, not 3 because he's not charging. And he needs force to hit. None of them will hit the target. The Wraith floats across the city square and hides in this narrow alleyway. And then the infantrymen will activate. They have already fought the werewolf, so they advance past the wolf and then they turn around and shoots instead. They will still need a 5 to hit, so they have a shred rifle and a regular rifle, and one of the rifle shots with the shred rifle will hit. It's not rending this time, so the werewolf will defend on a 4. And that is absolutely no problem. The werewolf is unharmed by the attack. The Vampire Lord has no ranged weapons, so he will rush across the city square, and from this position he will be in charge range next round. And then the sniper moves on the other side of the fence again, and he will now be the one to finally take down the werewolf. And he will hit. And with AP1, the werewolf will have to roll a 5. And this time it can't withstand the heavy fire anymore, so it will take its wound number 3 and go down. And then we will have to see the wound chart roll. And it's a 3. The werewolf is wounded, but not completely knocked out yet. The wounded support sister, who is stunned, will now get back in the game. That concludes the second round. The Undead will activate first in the third round, but as it looks right now, they have the Mourner Banshee and the Werewolf stunned, and they won't be able to do anything useful in the third round. We will see what happens. And decisions have to be made. The Glaive Stalker could possibly take out the support sister, and the Flamethrower, she might be the most dangerous unit on the battlefield, but if they do not activate the werewolf, it will immediately be taken out. So the werewolf gets back on its feet, and instead the support sister advances, and from this position she has a clear shot at the Glaive Stalker. She fires 6 flame shots, and she will hit on 4 of them. She is on fire, or rather, the Glaive Stalker might be on fire. With a defense of 6, it might just be too much, and none of the attacks are blocked, so it's up to the regeneration now. Can the Glaive Stalker perform a unreal regeneration roll, or is it all over? 2 of the hits will be regenerated, but still 2 attacks will hit the target, and that will give the Glaive Stalker 2 wounds and take it to the ground, burning and screaming. And the roll on the wound chart, it's a 6, no doubt. It's burned to crisp and out of the game. The Wraith is up next, and since the support sister has already been activated, it will float right past her and attack the company leader instead, with the great weapon hitting on a 3. And it's a clear hit. So it's AP2, the company leader will need a 6, but if he rolls a 1, he will take 1 additional wound. Ooh, it's a 2, so he will not block the attack. He will take wound number 2, but not any more wounds that would have taken him down. So he can instead fight back against the Wraith with 2 energy sword attacks, hitting on 4s. And one of them will hit. The Wraith has a defense of 6. And it's AP1, but it really doesn't matter. It takes a 6 anyway. He fails, so regeneration, and he regenerates the wound and then backs off. The sniper shot the werewolf down in the last round, but there he is again, just in front of him. So one more time, he will hit on a 2, and he rolls a 4 through the fence and all. And that's another hit on the werewolf with AP1, and still it's a defense roll of 5. And the werewolf is really wounded now with wound number 4. And again, it will have to roll on the wound chart, and with a 6, this is the end for the werewolf. It's beginning to look a little bad for the undead. So the vampire lord here will have to do some damage. He charges the infantry squad, and he has 3 attacks with his great weapon hitting on 3s, and that will be 3 hits against the 2 remaining infantrymen. And it's AP3, so they will have to come up with rolls of 6 to stand any chance against the vampire. And one of them is blocked, but still 2 and 1 infantryman will leave the battle, fallen and slain by the vampire. And the remaining one will then take 1 wound and also go down, but possibly only as stunned. We will see. The roll on the wound chart will be a 2, so he is still in the game. The vampire didn't manage to clear out the entire unit. The Battle Sister advances up to the corner of this building. She will have a shot at the Mourner Banshee, and if she hits with a 3, and she does, the Banshee is out. Another undead will be expelled from the city. The company leader then charges into the Wraith. He has already fought, but he will have to roll 6s, and he doesn't, so none of them will hit. The Wraith will be able to fight back, but he's also fatigued, so he will also need a roll of 6 to hit. And again, nothing happens. The company leader will move back. The High Sister is still active. She turns around and fires her plasma rifle against the vampire, and she will hit on a 2 at this distance. And with a 6, there is really no doubt. It's AP4, so the vampire will need a 6. And he fails, and he is hit with a plasma shot. He takes 1 wound. And finally, the wounded infantryman will activate and get back up. And that will be the last activation of the 3rd round. The undead hordes are now below half strength, so they will have to do undead morale tests, and that means a roll of 1 or 2 will give them a wound that they cannot regenerate. So the Wraith will begin here, and he rolls a 6, so he is safe. Next up, the vampire will roll for each wound he has left, and he loses another 1. So he's up to 2 wounds now, but they are still both in the game. Let's go to round number 4. Again, the undead will activate first. The Wraith attacks the support sister. He will hit on a 3 with his great weapon, and that's a hit. It's AP2, so the support sister will have to make a defense roll with 6, and she fails. So, and it was not a 1, so she didn't take any additional wounds, but she takes 1 more, taking her to 2, and she also rolls a 2 on the wound chart. So that means even though she was hit again, she is still only stunned. The High Sister takes another shot at the vampire. She will hit on a 2, and somehow she did not hit the vampire on point blank range. And instead, the vampire now will activate. He will leave the infantryman where he is and instead take his immediate revenge on the High Sister. 4 attacks, because he is furious, hitting on 3+. And he will hit twice. And again with AP 3, the High Sister will be forced to roll 6s to defend. And she fails them both. And now she is up to 5 wounds. That will be tricky for her to survive. She cannot roll more than a 2 on the wound chart, otherwise she is knocked out. And what will it be? It will be a roll of 2, and that is just enough to keep her stunned and still in the game. Incredible. The company leader activates and he attacks the Wraith. That gives him 3 attacks, hitting on 4s. It's not looking good. He will hit on 1 of his attacks. The Wraith will defend on a 6, no, and then it will have a chance to regenerate with a 5 or a 6, and also that fails. The Wraith is down, and the roll on the wound charge, which in this case is off screen, decides that it's stunned. So the company leader will have to move back. But instead, the Battle Sister will be just in range to charge the stunned Wraith, and that will take him out for good. And with the only ally out of the way now, the Vampire Lord has had enough. He escapes the city, and the soldiers will be victorious in the city square. The town is cleansed from all undead evil, and the sun will rise tomorrow. Thanks for watching this Halloween special battle report. I hope you'll join me for future campaigns and storylines and bad reps.